Just about 18 months ago, I tweeted out asking my friends if they had any book recommendations. My good friend Robin Green gave me a tip on a book named The Soul of Baseball. Nearly 18 months later, I just finished the book. I'm a little emotional right now. The last couple chapters are pretty tough. But when I picked up the book, within the first 5 pages, I knew I wanted to be a little bit more like Buck O'Neil. And to be honest with you, I'd never heard of Buck O'Neil. Buck O'Neil lived in a different era in our country. He was a player and a manager in the Negro Leagues when things were tough for those types of players. Within 5 pages of starting this book, like I just said, I knew I wanted to be more like Buck O'Neil. I'll share the story that made me feel like that. Pisnaski followed Buck around for a couple years as he was trying to gain insight into his life and his legacy. And he went to hundreds of ball games with him. And early on in these travels, Pisnaski witnessed a foul ball come into the stands, and an older gentleman reached out and grabbed that ball just before the ball could have been caught by a young kid. And that ate up the author a little bit, and it kind of bugged him throughout the game. And he brought that topic up to Buck, and Buck, in his usual way, his way of seeing the positive in everything and seeing the good in everything, simply responded that that guy probably had a kid at home. And that stopped the author in his tracks and made him think about why he was looking at the positives. And like myself, I find myself being cynical sometimes, and I would have been very upset that this older gentleman just stole a foul ball from a young kid. What a jerk. Buck O'Neil, on the other hand, found the positive, said he probably has a kid at home. The author went right back to his negative ways and said, if he has a kid, why didn't he bring him to the ballpark? Buck, in his normal way, found the positive. He said the kid's probably homesick. That ball's probably going to make his day. That kid will remember his dad bringing a baseball home from the ball game when he was sick for the rest of his life. That story was literally 5 pages into the book. And I've told my wife several times already since reading it that I want to be more like Buck moving forward. I want to see the positive. Throughout this book, that point is touched on over and over and over again. He had a way of seeing things. I'll let you read the book. I'll let you research his baseball career. I'll let you research his managing career and his scouting career and learn about all the unbelievable baseball things about Buck O'Neil. The piece that's woven through this book from front cover to back cover is about his optimism and about relationships and about memories. They talk a lot about how it's not the hits or the wins or the losses or the plays that are made during the game that are remembered, but more about the camaraderie in the dugout, the post-game meal in the locker room, about the long bus rides, playing cards or playing dice. There's a passage about memories that I want to read directly to you. During the time that the author and Buck O'Neil were traveling around the country, they stopped at a ball game in Minnesota. It was in Minnesota when Buck ran into a former slugger named Tony Oliva. Oliva was a great Cuban hitter, big-time power guy. And in their conversation, they started talking about memories. And I want to read that passage to you. Time for Buck to go down to the field. He hugged Oliva. I love you, Tony, Oliva said. Buck, you know what I regret? I've forgotten. I wish I could remember like you remember. If I could do it all over again, I would write down every little story. There were so many funny stories, but now that I'm old, I've forgotten. And then Buck shook his head. You haven't forgotten. You just think you have. Memory is like baseball. You might 0 for 4 today, but you'll get 3 hits tomorrow, right? Good days and bad. You'll remember. Those stories aren't gone. They're just behind a few cobwebs. Buck winked and walked to the field. Tony Oliva nodded, asked for a pad, and wrote something down. As 18 months ago, when I put the word out that I was looking for a book, and Robin Green recommended this book to me, I went on Amazon and bought it for 1 penny plus shipping. It's been sitting on my shelf for almost 18 months, and despite being a little emotional right now, after just finishing the book, I can't recommend it enough. I think that any baseball fan would enjoy this. I'm going to put the link below. Hopefully you can pick it up for a penny. Don't wait 18 months to read it. You're going to love it.